All right, hey students, welcome to Honors Geometry. This is Mr. Enzi. I met some of you guys during the during the freshman orientation. For you sophomores, I've seen a bunch of you guys. Probably a lot of you had Miss Eckenham last year, Mrs. Eckenham last year, and you came over and talked to me. So welcome to Honors Geometry. This is a weird time, but hey, we're going to do it. So today we're just going to go over, I figure we'll save the introduction and stuff till tomorrow. I'll go over everything you need to know. Make sure you're checking your email. If you haven't already joined the Google Classroom, make sure you do that. And other than that, so we're just going to actually get right into it. So we're just going to start and go over points, lines, and planes. Very simple. I think one of the main things I just want to emphasize is you want to know for this class, all throughout the class, how to name a point, how to name a line, how to name a plane. Now, a plane is not so important in the grand scheme of things. The lines will be the ones you really want to know. And then on Wednesday, we'll go over line segments, okay? And that's one you'll really want to know how to name lines, line segments. But today we're going to just stick with points, lines, and planes. So I had this all set up, but I'm just going to run through the slides here. And so that's where we're starting. And so let's get going. So our objectives today are identify and model points, lines, and planes, and identify intersecting lines and planes, which we'll do. Maybe not today, but we'll go through that. So if you know that points, lines, and planes, that's sort of the basic parts of geometry, okay? And what is geometry, actually? Geometry comes from two words, Greek words, geo, which means earth, and metron, which means measure. So we're measuring the earth. That's what geometry is. So we're just measuring things in real life, right? Whether by angles, a bunch of different ways. By the length, by angles, we're looking at line segments, shapes, that kind of thing, okay? And remember, in Algebra 1, this was the coordinate plane, right? It's also called the Cartesian plane after a philosopher named René Descartes. His philosophy wasn't so good, but he gave us this plane. So the coordinate plane, that's an example of a plane from Algebra 1. So you've already seen this stuff before. Now, it says students draw anywhere. Just ignore those on there. In the future, I'll tell you how we're going to enable those, but that will be when we're zooming. So we say 4, -3 is a point, right? So if you remember from your days in Algebra 1, if you can't graph a point, I'm not sure how you got in this class, but so remember the 4 represents x, so I go to the right 4, and -3 represents y, so I go down 3, and 4, -3, that's my point. So, I'm going to put a little point there, and, just draw. And, of course, I already started doing goofy stuff, right? That's a point, okay? So I'm pretty sure you guys can all graph a point. I have confidence in you, but I'm not going to assume that you know. So that's a point, right? You've seen points in Algebra 1. We've also seen lines, right? So excuse me. We've seen a plane from Algebra 1. We saw a point from Algebra 1. And now we have lines also from Algebra 1. So remember, we can graph lines. So if we want to graph y equals 2x plus 1, if you just recall, 1 is the y-intercept, right? And that's where the graph crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to draw my point there. And then 2 is the slope, right? So, or 2 over 1, right? That's another way to describe the slope. So that means I'm going to go up 2 spaces and to the right 1. And this is my line, y equals 2x plus 1. Okay, so that's a line. So what's the point of all this? The point of all this is to say that you've seen points, lines, and planes before, okay? And we will be going over lines later, probably later in the first quarter, okay? Points, I mean, you just graph a point. There's nothing much else to say about that, okay? But you've already seen this. So what are we going for here? What does this have to do with geometry again, right? So with points, lines, and planes, what you're going to need to do is know the definition. That's not so important, honestly. You'll want to know what the things are, but I'm not going to ask you what the definitions are. You want to be able to draw them, okay? You want to be able to draw a point, a line, and a plane, right? I mean, it's fairly simple. I think you've seen those before. And name them. Naming, remember, that's one of the most important things that we need to do, especially for points and lines. Okay, you'll have to name planes too, but that would just honestly be maybe a first week, first test sort of thing. Not something that will continue to show up, okay? All right. So what's a point? A point is a location, and it has neither shape nor size. So it's like an angel. An angel is not anywhere. It's only where it acts on a certain place, which is not, sort of not relevant right now. But the idea is it's just a location, right? So on a map, if you have a point, right, where Baltimore is, right, it's just a location, right? It's just describing where Baltimore is. There's no size to the point, right? It's just, a dot, really. I mean, the dot has size, but we say the point doesn't have any size. And how do we name points? So we name points by using a capital letter. And what you're going to do is you're going to write point blank. And in the blank goes whatever the point's name is, right? So this guy down here is called point A. Now, a common mistake I see is that students just write, name a point A. That's wrong, right? A is just a capital letter. That doesn't mean anything, right? This is point A. Okay? It's not just A. It's point A. Okay? So, in the Ed puzzle, it's going to stop here and going to ask you to name one of the points you see below. So, what do we have here? So you should have chosen point A, or there's a point B, or there's a point C, and there's a point P. So all those are possible points, right? Name one of the points. I named all four of them, okay? So, excuse me. All right, so that's a point. Point, capital letter, that's it. For a line is made up of points. So a line consists of points, right? That's what it is. It has no thickness or width, and there's exactly one line through 2 points. So anytime you see 2 points, you can draw a line through it. Okay, that's just a, interesting tidbit there. So remember, if a line doesn't have a size, if a point doesn't have a size and a line's made up of points, a line can't have, a size either, right? No thickness, no width. And it goes on forever. Okay. So how do we name a line? Well, there's 3 ways to do it. Write the word line, then any 2 points on the line. So, for example, look down below. You see line PQ or line QP. Number 2, you can write the 2 points on the line with the symbol, with the double arrow pointing both directions symbol above it. So if you notice in number 2, PQ or QP with the lines over top. So you don't have to write line whatever. Right, you just write the letters, the points on the line, and that symbol that I just told you about. And then number 3, writing the word line, then a lowercase script letter. So sometimes you'll see a script letter written over here, right? You'll see this guy. That's not what I want to do. Mr. M there. And basically, that's just a naming device. It's not a point, okay? Points are only in capital letters. So that's going to be line M. So those are the three ways. So just to review, you write the word line and then 2 points on the line. Any 2 points, right? It doesn't have to be whatever. You can pick whatever 2 points, any of them. Then you can take 2 points on the line, right? PQ, QP, right? And you can write the little symbol here over it. Or you can write the word line and then the lowercase script letter. Sometimes number 3 doesn't exist, okay? So you don't have to do it. But a lot of times they put a cursive letter next to it. Or script, I should say. All right, so your turn. And the same 3 ways. Now on the Edpuzzle here, you're not going to be able to do it, I don't think, the second way. But you can probably do it the first and the third way. So you're going to write the word line, then any 2 points on the line. Actually, just follow the directions. It's the same as the last. It's the same as the last slide, okay? So right here, you're going to name this line right here, okay? And then I'll go over the ways you can name it. So what are the ways we can name this line? Well, the first way, write the word line in any 2 points. So number 1, line JK, line KJ, line KL, line LK, line LJ, line JL. Okay, so those are all the ways you can do it for part 1. Part 2, or way number 2, now we can just write the points, JK, with the arrows pointing both ways, KJ, KL, LK, LJ, and JL. Okay. And then number 3 would be line A. That'd be the third way. Now notice M is not on the line, so we don't include M. Right? It's not on the line. It's just hanging out there. But it's not on the line, so we don't use it to name. Okay? Okay. All right, lastly, we have planes. A plane's a flat surface made up of points extending infinitely in all directions. There's exactly one plane through any 3 points not on the same line. Okay, so the main thing you want to think about here is a plane's a flat surface made up of points, okay? It goes on forever. All right? Basically it. So you can think of a plane, right, as a wall is a plane. It doesn't go on forever, but it's sort of an example of a plane, right? A cinder block, or sort of the facade of a cinder block, a piece of paper, etc. Okay, how do we name a plane? So we name a plane by using the word plane followed by a capital script letter, or the word plane followed by 3 points not all on the same line. So if we look below, plane K, right? K is the capital script letter right here, right? Notice this plane looks kind of like a piece of paper or something like that, right? Or you can use 3 letters, but they can't all be on the same line. So I've given here plane CBD, DBC, BCD, DCB, that should say CDB right there, and plane BDC. So those are all the ways. So plane, capital script letter, or plane, whatever 3 points not on the same line. So I'm going to, here we'll stop, send you a question, and your turn, and I'll start it back up. So the plane by a capital script letter, plane P, and plane followed by 3 points not all on the same line. Plane ABC, plane CBA, plane BAC, plane CAB, plane ACB, plane BCA. Okay. So, sort of last but not least, other important vocab. Points on the same line are called collinear. Points not on the same line are called non-collinear. Right? So collinear, with, and linear line, with the line. So if all points are on the same line, we say they're collinear. If they're not on the same line, they're called non-collinear, right? Non means no, with, linear, line. Not with the line, or with the line. Points on the same plane are called coplanar. Not coplanar, okay? Please don't say that. Notice in the last example, A, B, and C are coplanar, right? They're all inside that plane, all right? So if they're within the bounds of the line segments that make up the plane, they're coplanar. Points not on the same line, what do you think? Non-coplanar. All right. So that's just some vocab for you, okay? These are going to be very important, right? Coplanar and collinear. All right? So, Master Yoda, going to practice. So, I'm just going to make some questions here on the Ed puzzle. It'll stop and we'll just see how you do there. So, name 3 collinear points. So, for example, point V, point W, point X, or, example, point Y, point X, point V. Right? So there are 4 points on this line, so 3 of them, I mean, they're all collinear, but we just want 3 collinear points. So that would be V. One combination of 3 of those. Okay? Name 3 coplanar points. So, point Z, point Y, point W. Okay? Now, you got to be careful here because you cannot pick 3 points on there. You could pick 2 points on there, but you can't pick 3 points on the line. Now, why, Mr. Enzi? Why is that the case? Well, if you said points, actually they are coplanar, but actually ignore what I just said. So, for example, point W, point V, and point X, right? They're all coplanar. Now, what I was trying to say there was if you were to name this plane, which we'll get to, let's just skip down. Name 3 collinear points. So again, or non-collinear points. So you can name any of them that aren't on the same line. Point T, point Z, point X. whichever. Name 3 non-collinear points. Or sorry, non-coplanar. Point T, point Z, point X, right? T is not on the plane. T is outside the plane. The dotted line means that, you know, this line R, is going through the plane. It's sort of vertical, right? So it's like going up through the piece of paper, right? It's like somebody stuck a pencil through the piece of paper. Line R would be sort of that imaginary pencil. Name the line containing point T. So you could say line R, line TX, line XT, XT, and TX. Give 2 different names for line WX. Line YV, sorry, not line YY. Line YV, line WX, or I just wrote the same thing. Line WV, right? Line N, right? You know, you could do the YW with the XW. There are a ton of them. Okay. All right. Lastly, what I want to do is just ask you how to name this plane. Also, what I was trying to say earlier. So, if we were to name this plane, so let's just put a side note here. Name this plane. So I'm going to make that separate from this. So what I was trying to say earlier is you can't use 3 points on the same line, okay, to name a plane. Why is that? Well, imagine if I drew a plane like this, right? Now that red box, or that red plane there, you would say, well, V, W, X, and Y are in the plane, right? You would say, yeah, Mr. Enzi, that's cool. But notice, right? This also, the blue plane is also V, W, X, and Y are in there, right? The thing is, I could draw, you know, another red box going like this. I could keep drawing them. And VWXY, you could draw infinitely many planes to represent that, okay? So we have to clarify, you know, which plane we're talking about. If you're like, what is he talking about there? Don't worry about it. Just don't name a plane with 3 collinear points, right? So, for example, VWX, that's wrong. Cannot do that. But plane ZWX works. Plane VYZ, that works. Plane P, right? We can use this script letter. How about plane WXV? Can't use it, right? Those 3 points are on the same line. Okay, guys, great. So I'm going to post something to Google Classroom. I'm going to post an assignment. Remember, my office hours today are 1:50 to 2:30. So make sure to reach out to me then if you have any questions. We'll also talk about this tomorrow. We'll go over, you know, we'll just get a feel for how things went. Excuse me, go over expectations and what we're looking to do. But this is just the, you know, the start of a new year. So get the start off right. Points, lines, and planes, just naming them. And yeah, so that's it. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a blessed day.